The scariest flying dinosaurs. Can you imagine being a huge flying reptile in the current world? It sounds a little absurd, but millions of years ago that was something as common as seeing birds flying in the street. So now I'm going to show you how terrifying and strange they were. Cryodraken boreas. Cryodraken boreas, or frozen dragon, grew to an impressive size, and its body was kind of ugly, as you can see in modern images. It's so scary! With an unbelievable wingspan of at least 16 feet, this is one of the largest flying reptiles that ever existed. It was native to the not-so-cold Canadian lands from 76 million years ago. Back then, Canada wasn't as cold as it is now. Imagine seeing a reptile the size of a giraffe with imposing wings in the middle of the Canadian countryside. I don't think you would have enjoyed seeing a Cryodraken flying around during your rural walk. Its appearance is as terrifying, strange, and mysterious as its name, which was inspired by Game of Thrones. But this dragon didn't breathe fire. There's so little information about this creature that, basically, only a few bones of this species are known, and it's been mistaken for another reptile on this list a lot. Pteranodon. Enormous, frightening, and flying, Pteranodon was a scary flying reptile with a wingspan of 23 feet or even much larger. It lived in North America during the late Cretaceous, specifically in what is now Kansas, Alabama, Nebraska, Wyoming, and South Dakota. It had a very long toothless beak and a very characteristic crest, making it clear that this little friend wasn't just any bird in the air. In reality, it was a prehistoric albatross that went around seas of North America because, believe it or not, there was an interior sea that split North America in two. And that's where this winged one lived and intimidated its prey. When you see it, you think it's a dinosaur, right? But it isn't, because it doesn't belong to the clade Dinosauria. The same happens with all the members on this list, though as they're terrifying, they're called dinosaurs. Would you think otherwise? Quetzalcoatlus. Its name is as particular as its size. Quetzalcoatlus was named after the Aztec deity Quetzalcoatl, a mythical feathered serpent in Mexican culture. This pterosaur lived flying around North America about 68 to 66 million years ago. Its horrific features were complemented by a wingspan of 33 to 36 feet. Something really huge if you think of it. Your living room is likely to be even smaller than this Quetzalcoatlus with fully stretched wings. If you see it that way, this animal is kind of intimidating, isn't it? There are some debates about what it fed on, so that info is still unclear. But having a very long beak and weighing up to 440 pounds approximately, whatever this animal would eat, it's an easy bite for this quasi-mythical reptile. Nyctosaurus. Very striking and tiny. Anatomically, it's very similar to Pteranodon on this list. They both have large wings as if they were a modern bird, but Nyctosaurus' wingspan was barely 6.6 feet and it weighed less than 4.4 pounds. The most remarkable thing about this small winged reptile is its unusual and distinctive crests, at least 1.80 feet tall. It might have used this curious crest as a sail to fly better, or maybe for courting, but those are just a few assumptions yet. This unimaginable crest was so large that it can be the entire length of its body. Strange and ugly, don't you think? With its long, pointed jaw and almost as sharp as a pin, it's a reptile much the same size as a large modern bird. Nyctosaurus, which was always around the Niobrara Formation, the sea that divided North America, and I mentioned before, terrified its prey until it became extinct approximately 80 million years ago. Zongoripterus. Many North American reptiles are already on this list, so now it's Asian one's turn. This reptile has such an odd and rare name. Zongoripterus is native to Central Asia, specifically Zungaria, which is a historical region located in the present lands of China and Kazakhstan. It lived during the early Cretaceous, about 145 million years ago. This creepy winged reptile has a curved, pointed, and apparently toothless beak used to hunt its prey, such as worms and mollusks, hidden in sand or mud. But the truth is, it had a lot of teeth on the back of its jaw to tear whatever it caught apart. Its wings were very impressive in size, with a wingspan of about 9.8 feet. Even though it was a passive hunter, its hideous appearance would scare you for sure, if you had the chance to see it, of course. The Lasadromeus. Now, you're going to travel from the continent of Asia to Brazil. The Lasadromeus is a native of Brazil from about 122 to 109 million years ago. Its enormous wings were so large that it had a wingspan of up to 15 feet. But the most remarkable thing about this South American reptile is its huge cranial crest, which ran from the tip of its not-so-small beak to the back of the skull, having a great length of 4.6 feet. Although the purpose of its large and intimidating crest is unknown, it might have been intended for attracting the reptile's partner sexually or for thermoregulation, among others. Imagine bumping into this reptile with that giant beak a few miles away. I'm sure you'd run away. Even if you aren't included in its diet, since this reptile ate fish only, and at the time the fauna itself was more extensive, I think it would mistake you for a very rare fish. Tropiognathus. You're still in South America. Tropiognathus is one of the great pterosaurs that flew during the Cretaceous period in South American lands. Its imposing appearance and mainly its incredible long wings with a wingspan of 27 feet gave it prominence in its habitat. The most characteristic trait of its half-moon-shaped jaw is the crests on both sides of it. This species may not seem that big on land, but in the air, it would have been a scary experience. Though you can see it today in some video games and be fascinated and terrorized by Tropiognathus. Tupendactylus. One more from Brazil. This pterosaur lived during the early Cretaceous, coming from the Romulado Formation in northeastern Brazil at the base of the Araripe River. There are many fossils in good condition in that place. The most remarkable, exotic, ugly, and terrifying thing about the Tupendactylus was its huge cranial crest. Made up of bone and soft tissue, what's incredible is that its length was massive, running from the peak and getting split into two small bones that were very long. In between, there was a keratin-like soft tissue filling in that space. This looked like a kind of natural sail on the head. Although it's unknown what exactly this crest was for, it gives a unique touch to this winged reptile. It had a wingspan of nothing but 16 feet, and nobody knows what it fed on because there are debates about whether it ate fruits or fish. But whatever this reptile would eat, it fed that enormous, striking, and frightening crest. Hatseygopteryx. Coming from Count Dracula's lands, this is the Hatseygopteryx. This pterosaur is a reptile native to Transylvania, present-day Romania. Although at the time, this region was a large island called Hatseg during the late Cretaceous. It was so scary that it is considered to be a super predator in its vast habitat. With its terrifying wingspan of 36 to 39 feet, it was a winged reptile that dominated the Romanian skies millions of years ago. Its skull had such a length that it was about 9.8 feet long. This reptile was so powerful and dominant that it easily attacked larger prey than its cousins, pterosaurs, but it couldn't even swallow lunch at a bite. Despite the fact that Hatseygopteryx became extinct, Transylvania still has that frightening vibe that, together with the prehistoric fossils and other modern myths, have marked this sinister region. You can find impressive winged reptiles in unexpected places too, and the one coming next will not let you down. Amarborgenia. The lands of the desert country of Jordan. This place also has its terrifying winged reptile. The Amarborgenia was absolutely gigantic and originally had a wingspan of about 39 to 43 feet. Also, it was 16.4 feet tall on land, and it was large and scary enough to make any prey freeze with fear. They hunted prey in their habitat, from amphibians, other reptiles, and even baby dinosaurs. A true problematic winged one from the late Cretaceous period. But the most frightening thing is that it's carnivorous. This is how you could imagine or see him in current video games. Bonus: Dimorphodon. Tiny, fierce, ugly, and aggressive. You may be wondering why it's included in this list. I'll explain it. This reptile may not be giant, but you do know about it if you're aware of Jurassic Park movies, of course. This little friend has a wingspan smaller than most people's height at just 4.6 feet and a length of just 3.3 feet. Its diet was varied, and with its jaw intended for biting and holding its prey, this animal was likely to eat fish, insects, and even small reptiles. On land, it looked like a turkey or woodpecker walking, but with scales and the ability to hurt you if you mess with it. Only video games and movies show you how deadly it could have been, and oh boy, it could have. Were you surprised by all these winged reptiles? Because I was, especially knowing that there are so many mysteries on this planet, and every day, new ones will be discovered. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more amazing content. If you love reptiles and you feel like watching more, I recommend these videos. See ya!